Beta to Boss with Chase Harmer. Growth, scale, success.
Welcome to the BETA2BOSS podcast and the Hustle Harder movement. Now, every week we have ballers and laser-focused entrepreneurs with a mission to build massive businesses. And our mission is to provide insight into how they make it all work. We've been able to talk with many e-commerce experts that have grown businesses that have gone from zero to millions within months, and our guest today is no exception and has really been able to build substantial growth using Facebook as the main marketing strategy. Maxwell Finn is the digital marketer and consultant, and if you're an entrepreneur, you may have even possibly bought some of the gear that they have through Facebook from one of his companies called Startup Drugs, which went from 0 to 100,000 in less than 4 months and a $500,000 run rate in 6 months, which was completely automated through email funnels and Facebook. So looking forward to being able to get the goods there from Max and helping our audience make some more money. Maxwell, welcome to the show today.
It's great to be here, Chase. Thanks for having me on, brother.
So before we get into the goods, just real quick, tell me a little bit about your entrepreneurial home. You know, your dad and your grandfather, both entrepreneurs, right?
I did. Yeah, you did your homework.
I try to. But tell me a little bit about what it was like to grow up in that environment, in a family like that.
Sure. I come from a real estate background, so my grandfather built a lot of the multifamily homes in northern Jersey, eastern Pennsylvania, and could have retired when he was probably 40, but decided to invest in another venture and created a company that is now NAI Global, which is the largest privately owned commercial real estate firm in the world.
For sure. Absolutely.
It's a big brand. If anybody's, you probably see their signs a lot for all the different local offices, but it's, I grew up in that environment. So having my grandpa kind of run the company and then my dad taking it over and taking it from a national company to international company in 55 countries. I got to travel a lot with him and just had that mindset. I think when you grow up in an environment where that's like the norm and that's kind of the way people work and the work ethic and the traveling and the mentality, it's hard to do anything else. And unfortunately, and we can talk more about this later in the podcast, I think the problems that we're encountering in the education system, most people don't experience that. And so for vast majority of people, their norm is, people working 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and then disconnecting. And that's kind of what they think of their career being.
Getting into what you've been able to accomplish and achieve in such a short amount of time with social marketing and the concept Startup Drugs, the entrepreneurial clothing line. I love this concept, by the way, and I actually bought that Hustle Element t-shirt. So I'm a customer of yours. So tell me a little bit about your background and how you became such an expert on Facebook advertising.
Sure. I've always been interested in the startup space. I went to school specifically for it. I went to Emory University for 2 years because I went to a very small boarding high school. And so you kind of only apply to 20 colleges in the world, either the Ivies or the next, best 16 or 14 schools. And so I went to Emory, which is number 3 business school in the world, hated it and transferred to a small school called Babson College, which has been the number 1 college for entrepreneurship 20 years in a row. And that's a very unique education. It's very real world driven. It's all casework.
What's so different about what that school does compared to what other colleges or vocational schools do?
The best example I can give you is the best class I took there, which is called the Ultimate Entrepreneurial Challenge. It was ranked by Inc. magazine as the top entrepreneurship course in the country. And the teacher, Len Green, they fly him up every week for that course. Most of the professors at Babson are adjuncts. So they've run startups. They are venture capital investors. So they do this stuff in the real world. And the course had no textbooks and no exams, but it was also probably the hardest class in the country, one of the hardest classes in the country to get an A in.
Right.
Every week, you essentially, the class is split up into little companies before the course starts, or CEOs. The CEOs get $1 million to hire people from the class. And then each week you work on cases. And then every week you come in, and then the CEO of the company you worked on the case for is there. So like we did Sobe Beverages or big companies like that, and they come in and they actually tell you what really happened. And then you're graded based on, your creativity and stuff.
Dude, that sounds awesome.
So it was a really cool class. And that's a unique example, but a lot of the classes at Babson are structured more like that than a traditional classroom where you're just kind of getting talked to for 2 hours. You have a midterm and a final. A lot of it is it's experiential. You're actually doing things. You're actually meeting with a lot of the founders who run the companies that you're doing casework on. And casework is really effective. And that's why like Harvard and at the MBA level, most of those programs are all built around cases, because that's like the best way to get ready for working in a startup or at a private equity firm or working in the real world. And so that was really the core focus at Babson.
So we're able to talk about how you got from A to Z so quickly with Startup Drugs, but what made you create this and get into the social media marketing frenzy that you're in now?
Yeah, so I founded my first company while I was still at Babson, and it was called The Daily 100. We eventually changed the name to Loot, and essentially it was a long-tail micro-influencer platform that allowed brands to compensate everyday people for completing certain tasks, like taking pictures with the product, sharing a message on social. We were really ahead of the time. We were mobile before mobile ad spend really shifted. We were native advertising before native advertising really caught on. But we ended up raising several $1 million. We had 20 plus employees, and as a first-time entrepreneur, it was a great experience, and I learned a lot and made a ton of mistakes. Towards the end of that startup, when we were getting ready to kind of exit it, I had an idea for Startup Drugs with my partner Nick, and initially it was kind of just like a joke. It was, at the time, we saw a lot of companies doing the inspirational stuff. Everything was these happy-go-lucky quotes and, keep working, persistence, all this stuff. And when you actually run a startup, you know that the reality is that 90% of the day you're dealing with fires and accidents and mistakes, and it's not so rosy. And so we said it'd be funny if we created a company that still had some of the motivational stuff, but also had a lot of gear that had sayings and quotes that only real founders understand got, and not the people that watch Silicon Valley think they know startup world. And that was really the impetus to start the company. And honestly, when we started it, I had no intention of it being like a real business. I thought this would be kind of a fun like joke, and maybe we'll sell 10 shirts or something like that, and a few of our buddies can see it. It'll be fun. And it happened to take off after the first week thanks to Product Hunt. We got hunted there, and that just shot us off into the stratosphere and validated it.
What is Product Hunt? What is that?
So Product Hunt's a company founded by Ryan Hoover. They were bought by AngelList about a year ago. And it's basically every day people hunt products, startups. When Apple comes out with a new product, when some venture-backed company launches their app out of beta, they feature it, and the community upvotes these hunts each day. And the product startups that get the most upvotes, and it's obvious there's a lot more than just upvotes, there's a whole algorithm, get featured, and it has millions and millions of unique visitors. The email list is massive. And so if your startup or product gets in the top 3 spots, you get an insane amount of traffic. To put it in perspective, Startup Drugs now has been several years that we launched it. And when we were hunted, we were the second most upvoted startup. And in a 1-week period, we got 35,000 unique visitors to our website. That was all from Product Hunt.
Wow, that's amazing.
So you can imagine today, if you get that spot, you're probably getting 100,000 plus uniques coming to your site because of that.
Since the majority of your businesses were set up in an automated fashion through funnels and social media through Facebook, is it just the Product Hunt that made you so successful, or did you attribute that in this to the way that you set up your social media marketing platform?
Sure. I think that the Product Hunt aspect of it helped validate the concept. And whenever I talk to younger entrepreneurs or people looking to get into the drop shipping game, looking to start an e-com store, the first thing I always tell them is really before you invest anything, nowadays you don't need to hold inventory. There's really no upfront cost to start a store, but you should validate the idea before you spend your time and money into something. And there's so many mediums to do that. So Product Hunt is one of them, and it helped us validate that we were onto something, right? Like, okay, we're not wasting our time here. There's something to this. And then from there, we tested a lot of traffic channels. I was not a Facebook ad expert by any means back then. I was kind of just dipping my feet into I was competent in a lot of things. And what we found is Facebook just happened to be the most profitable and responsive paid media channel for Startup Drugs. And it was working. We doubled down on it, and I began to kind of develop passion for it. And it kind of just spun from there of like, okay, this is working for us. We're putting $1 and we're getting $4 out. Let's keep doubling down on this. Meanwhile, we were also simultaneously looking at how can we improve the store, the conversion rate, the experience, because that's just as important as driving traffic. And that's a common mistake a lot of people make too, is like, I'm just going to focus on, help me with my Facebook ads. Like, why is my store making money? And the reality is a lot of people, when they actually send me to their store, I'm like, okay, we don't even want to talk about Facebook ads right now. We need to talk about your store first.
For sure. Part of the formula is the aesthetics, but of the checkout page and how you navigate to get customers to your product and show the consumer what they're looking for to buy. So that's an essential ingredient, what they're trying to accomplish there.
Exactly.
Now, you guys built an app as well. Is this the same app that is associated with this business, or is that a completely different business? Are they two different things?
Totally different company. So it just so happened that my partner in our first startup, we started that together. We actually, my new company, Unicorn Innovations, bought Startup Drugs. So now it's owned by my new company that has 4 partners in it. And so that owns Startup Drugs and a bunch of other e-com stores and content sites, along with all the CPA track we do and consulting and stuff that we can talk about more. But that's kind of the structure of it right now.
So I was able to interview one of your partners as well, who came on the show and do a podcast with me, another social media mogul, Jeremy Adams. How did you guys meet and become partners in this small world of ours?
Yeah, we've been friends and business partners for over 3 years now. We actually met, this is going to sound really funny, but we met with a Facebook ad. So I was running Startup Drugs ads, and one of our older partners, Ian Smith, he had tagged, at the time he was working for Jeremy at his food truck company, Prestige Food Trucks, and tagged Jeremy in the comment. And then I looked at them and said, they're both in Orlando, and it's uncommon to find young entrepreneurs that are already successful in Orlando. I mean, it's not Silicon Valley or New York or Boston. So I said, let's meet up. I'd love to learn what you guys are doing and just chat and just get to know each other. And so that's how we met. And then that kind of just developed into our first venture together, which was Quantum Media with Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank. We did that for over a year. And then Jeremy and I decided that this path that we're on right now is where we want to be. And so now we have Unicorn, which is the new company that's just growing incredibly.
I know that you guys have a lot going on. So what is the basis of Unicorn marketing, and what exactly is the game plan for what you guys are planning to do as a core business outside of your own marketing programs?
Sure. So the cool thing is it's such a new company, and we haven't even had that. At a certain point, what's cool about the digital marketing world is once you get to a certain level and you work with certain people, you get way more inbound leads and business than you can even fill. And so we're still finishing our website and stuff, but we really haven't even needed to have it. Basically, the company, what we do is we have offers we run internally, where we do cost per acquisition or cost per lead offers, which is very rare. Most agencies charge a % on spend. Their goal is to spend a lot, not necessarily make a lot. We do everything based on, we only get paid if we sell stuff for a client or for an internal offer, which is much riskier. But if you're really good at what you do, you can make a lot more money. And so on those offers, we work with some big brands. We've worked with companies like 3M. We've done all the paid traffic for Pat Flynn. So a lot of big name people. We also obviously own Startup Drugs. We also have other content sites that we monetize with native advertising. We do monthly consulting for a select group of companies, kind of high-end consulting, and we do advising on their Facebook ad strategy, their e-com strategy, their funnels, all that stuff. And then the final piece is our info products. So I just created my first course 3 months ago, Facebook Ad IQ Academy. That's, in my opinion, the most up-to-date and comprehensive Facebook ad course on the market right now. It's over 80 videos, 15 hours of content. We have a private group where every Tuesday we do weekly ad audits live on Facebook. Every Friday we do weekly office hours with Q&A. And we have close to 1,000 students in that. It's a $1,000 course. So that's been incredibly successful. And that generates a ton of inbound leads as well for, higher end consulting.
Sure.
And then the final piece is just speaking more at events. So I've been at Shopify, their Info Ecom Mastermind with their top 25 marketers. I got to speak at that. Ezra Firestone's Ecom All-Stars event. So it's been a really cool year to get to work with people that, 3-4 years ago, I was buying their courses and looking up to them.
That's incredible. That's truly amazing. Well, tell me, how have you been so successful marketing on Facebook and social media online? Can you tell maybe the listeners top 3 strategies to apply for the novice or intermediate marketer?
So the easiest way to talk about this is talk about the biggest mistakes people make, and then in turn, those are ways to avoid those mistakes. So the average marketer and e-com store owner, they operate in this bubble of take cold traffic, send them to a sales page, try to sell them, and repeat. And that's kind of the bubble they operate in. Most of our money, our big money, is made after that first sale. So we focus on the big picture, on customer lifetime value, on repeat purchases, upsells, cross-sells after that purchase. So every Facebook campaign that I build out, all my students and stuff, the focus is, okay, it's great to acquire customers, but that's just a starting point. we need to continue to build out the retargeting campaigns after that purchase to ascend that customer through our upsell sequence and sell them the more profitable products. So that's one, is just having a much bigger view on what a Facebook campaign should be. And it shouldn't be exclusively about getting your first purchase.
Right.
Tip number one, and that moves the needle for pretty much everybody.
So just getting the customer in your funnel is the key. So that you can make a more profitable marketing strategy, marketing your products on a second step or something to that effect, right?
And that changes the numbers in terms of what you can afford to pay to acquire a customer and everything on that.
Are you typically marketing to these consumers right away or using this list to market to these clients at a later time? I mean, what do you see as the most effective strategy to do here?
There's multiple points. So we do one-click upsells with all of our offers because it's incredibly effective. They don't have to put their checkout information anymore. They can just press a button. So we do that. But we also, 3 weeks, 4 weeks after, we'll recommend something that is a cross-sell or an upsell. So we'll hit them again. And it depends on your product too. If you're selling a continuity, if you have a straight sale, and then you also have a continuity program or subscription program, 1 month out, when we know that you're about to come up to running out of the product, whether it's shaving cream or something like that, razor, we'll then retarget you with a push to subscription, give you a special deal if you join. So it really depends on your business. It depends on your business model, your price points, the variety of products, but it's definitely a combination of direct after sale followed up with 1 month out, and then also trying to recover first-time customers. Maybe it's 3 months, 4 months out, they haven't bought again, and giving them a sweet deal to return them. And this happens on Facebook, but it also happens on email, messenger, text, all your communication channels.
Is social media the most promising marketing tool, or do you recommend a full-fledged strategy that comprises different marketing components in parallel?
Sure. So to be successful nowadays, you need to have a kind of omni-channel presence where there's multiple touch points throughout somebody's day, throughout somebody's week and month. And that means that you can't be dependent on any one platform, right? So Facebook can be your go-to platform, but you need to have email, you need to have Messenger, you need to have, be active on YouTube and other channels to touch people and to best use the content that channel is meant for. And what I mean by that is, there's people out there like Billy Jean, for example, who is a Facebook ad guy, but is crushing YouTube because he's leveraging YouTube for longer form video to build a relationship and trust with people that don't know him. And then he's retargeting those people on Facebook. And then once those people opt into a lead magnet, then he's following up an email and Messenger. And so that's the approach that the most successful marketers are using right now to make sure that they're hitting those people multiple times. And they're also ensuring that they're going to reach those people, because some people just don't log into Facebook every day. They might check their email every day, and vice versa. Some people might not check their email, but they're on Facebook and Instagram every day, all day. And so it increases the chance you're actually going to get the message across to that person at some point.
What should people be focusing on when trying to reach out to their potential consumers? I mean, in regard to consumers' needs and creating that relationship so they can potentially make more money later with a more established long-term relationship.
Definitely. So the other big one, this is usually when I talk on stage, I usually start with this, is focusing on building a relationship and trust with that first ad or first series of ads, especially if you're selling a info product, a course, mastermind, high ticket price products. Working on cold traffic and just selling them is so ineffective and so expensive.
Sure. That
nobody should be doing it. Unless if you're selling a fidget spinner or a product where, the margin, the profit margin's $5, $10, maybe you can operate in that world. But most products, most businesses and brands that are building real long-term value, those first ads should be all about giving to that person, establishing your authority, providing value, building relationship. And so for our course, for example, the first ad we run is one of the videos from my course, and it's total freebie. It's, hey, here's this 30-minute video, my video ad funnel. Have it, enjoy it, and let me know what you think about it. And we also use short form videos in there. We A/B test. We have some 60-second ad hacks we throw in there, but it's really all about building that relationship. So when we do pitch them something, we actually have a great chance of converting them, because they're like, well, okay, they've already given me a lot of value. This is the stuff they're giving me for free. Imagine what the paid stuff's going to look like.
Right, for sure.
And the final part of that is by sharing content up front and using those higher funnel ad objectives like video views and website clicks and page post engagement, you're getting the biggest and broadest audience you're going to hit to self-identify themselves. And what I mean by that is, if you have a product that solves problem A, I want to create content, either a listicle or a short BuzzFeed style video that agitates problem A. That when I run that ad, it's an edutainment type ad to that big audience. The people that watch 95% of it or click to the article, I know that they have that problem at some levels in their life. And so I'm not going to pitch my product then, but what I'm going to do is now I know that this problem is relevant to these people. So I filtered out this big audience down to a smaller audience. And so now when I actually pitch a product, pitch a solution, I know that I'm really only pitching it to people that have at least some level of interest or they're impacted at some level by that problem.
Now, we see people are moving over to video as well, and we're doing that with our podcast as well in the future. But do you also feel that this is a way, the new way, for people to get more consumers in a more quicker fashion?
No, I think it's definitely true. I think video is an incredibly effective medium. It's for a lot of stuff I do, especially, people, when they see you and they can hear you and kind of understand who you are, it kind of speeds up that process of that relationship building we talked about. Images, static stuff, articles, it doesn't do it at the same level. It doesn't do it as fast. And so videos really help achieve that goal much quicker. And there's a lot more you can do from a technical standpoint when it comes to retargeting with videos that you can't necessarily do with single images and just, content on the article side of things.
People want to make money on these endeavors and create a 6 to 7 figure business. What's the best way to create a 7-figure business online? And since this is something that you've done very successfully.
Yeah, the keys aren't. So the other thing too we did, I don't know if that brought up, but we did all of Trump's collectibles. So we did about $4.5 million in sales in 3 months. And then that ties into this. So
right. Well, with the Trump coins, it seems like it was really a timing thing, right? I mean, it was the middle of election. I mean, you did it, and he was a super hot topic. Trump was hot as shit at that time. Don't you think that was the main reason you were so successful that campaign?
Yeah, it applies directly to your question. So just some pretext on that offer. That was with Quantum. So Kevin Harrington, one of our partners, did all of Obama's collectibles in 2008, made a lot of money, and so it was a natural thing to do it again. We had a relationship with the U.S. Treasury Department, so we could print on money, which you need to have that relationship to manipulate currency, otherwise you go to jail. And so it was kind of a no-brainer for us to do that. We're in the direct response space, and Facebook was a great channel for us. We had a lot of great affiliates in that deal. But the key there was, just like with Startup Drugs, when it comes to having a successful offer and a successful e-com business, is finding a product that has a passionate fan base.
Right.
Selling something or building an e-commerce store just to make money or just because you need to do this. I've heard a lot of people say, like, well, I'm doing this because I really want to do this, but this is like where I think I need to be to get to that point. Like, not having passion in what you're doing and vice versa, selling a product that doesn't have a passionate fan base, it's incredibly difficult to be successful. And there's a lot of people out there who are putting up these kind of broad e-commerce stores that just drop ship a bunch of lifestyle products or military products or kitchenware products, and like they're all just from AliExpress or Oberlo or something. The problem is, as a visitor to those websites, you can tell when the person who's selling the product genuinely loves what they're selling and believes in it, and when they don't, when it's just purely a monetization play.
How does one show that they're passionate about selling with their product online when they're essentially selling products when nobody can see them or talk to them?
It really comes through in the way that the products are described, the branding of the site. There's a lot of elements in your store that you might not even be cognizant of, might be subconscious, but people understand. So like if you go to Warby Parker or Casper or Squatty Potty or some of these companies that have literally overnight, or Dollar Shave Club, have like taken on 100-year-old companies and are just killing it. The people that started those companies were incredibly passionate about what they were making, what they were doing, and they were creating a brand. They were building a brand first. They weren't just doing it to make a quick buck and just to sell shit. And I think that's the biggest mistake most people make right now today in e-com, is their goal is purely just to sell something. It's like that Teespring world of, this is an easy way to make money. Everyone's going to do it. I can drop ship. I don't have to really do anything. I just link an app and do some Facebook ads. It's too competitive today. There's more and more people running Facebook ads. There's more and more people on Shopify. Everybody's trying to do it.
For sure. So building a brand and a strategy is really the long-term 7-figure play here.
If you don't have that long-term view, if you're not building a brand, if you're not focused on lifetime value, and your entire reasoning for doing this is to sell one-offs and make a quick buck,
right,
it is really, really, I mean, I would almost say to most people, it's impossible to do that profitably today. And it's very, very, it's even more impossible to repeat that. Because remember, if you're just selling one-offs, if you're just selling trend-based products or niche products that you really don't care about, you have to repeat that constantly. Because if you're selling fidget spinners today, in 6 months, nobody's going to care about fidget spinners. You got to find a new product to drop ship, put up a new store, do the market research again, and hope you kind of recreated the same magic. And that's exhausting and really difficult to do profitably.
Going back to the startup drugs concept, since that was new, was that the strategy there, as you didn't really have a large list to work from at that point?
Sure. So to get started, everything was through Facebook ads. We built up a pretty big email list too.
I'm sure that was also different from the Trump marketing strategy as well, right?
Sure. So two ways. The Trump offer was really easy compared to most stuff we run because of how crazed his fan base was. This was really around inauguration. So we ran a lot of contests. We gamified it. We built up a big messenger list as well as an email list by basically running, for Messenger, for example, there's a platform called ManyChat, which is our go-to messenger platform. They have a feature called a comment to subscribe. So anybody that comments on a Facebook post gets subscribed to a messenger sequence. So we did things like, it's Trump's birthday. Let's start the biggest happy birthday Trump thread on Facebook. And everybody that comments, we're going to send you a special present via Messenger. And we had, I think, 6,500 comments.
Wow.
Then maybe $100 boosting the post. Now, obviously, that's a rarity because of how crazy his fan base is. That approach works for lots of markets. We've done it for startup drugs. So running contests, kind of gamifying posts, and you can give away discount codes. You can give away one big thing. You can give away lots of little things. And, Messenger, it's easy to do that with ManyChat. If you're trying to build email lists, there's platforms like Viper.io, which make launching email contests really, really simple. And they track all the referrals and point systems and stuff. So early on, that's how we build lists, is we do a lot of gamification, a lot of contests early on.
That's awesome. I think a lot of entrepreneurs just don't know where there is a start. And there's so many things that you can do to make money online and so many different strategies to apply. Do you think this is all about timing on the one-off deals? And where do you start if you're trying to build this funnel? And what methods should you be applying?
Timing is huge. Timing is a very, very critical component of any offer, any business. And it's not just for one-offs. It's, seasonally, right? Like Black Friday. Like there's certain times a year that every business has booms and busts. They have good times a year, bad times a year. If you're selling, women's products, breast cancer awareness month is great. There's just everybody needs to understand when their hot streaks are, where they should be marketing most, when they should be trying to do discounting because it's going to be a slow month. And that's very important to being successful. With the Trump offer, it was obviously timing. It was around inauguration. I don't think it would do as well today as it did then. There was just a lot more fever and there's fewer competitors, right? Like it's a lot of first to market as well. There's a lot of knockoffs that follow closely behind all of this. Sorry, my dog's going crazy in the other room. That's the problem from working from home.
I got you.
But yeah, so the other part of the Trump offer being successful, a big factor for us was that initial average order value. When we first started running paid traffic, the numbers didn't look that great because we were doing a straight sale on the coin. That's all we had in our arsenal. And we quickly realized hey, if we want to make this work, we need to get that average order value up from the $19.95, which is what we were charging for the coin.
What was it, a gold dollar? What kind of gold Trump memorabilia were you selling?
It was an Eisenhower dollar. So the beautiful thing about what we were doing is we were selling money for more than the money was worth. So we were taking a dollar coin and selling it for $19.95. But what's amazing is currency is a tangible thing. It has very high perceived value. It's collectible. And that's another key to being successful with e-com is selling items that have high perceived value, where there's an arbitrage between the perceived value and the actual cost. If you can find products that have very high perceived value and low cost, you have a much greater chance of being successful because of that spread where you can price the product much, much higher.
Now, I see a lot of tangible items being sold through social media, and it sounds like most of your success on social media has been done through tangible items. What are your thoughts on digital products? And do you think that this works the same way? What's been your experience with tangible versus digital?
Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough just because it's, what it's perception. So everybody perceives things differently. But just in general, like anything that is considered rare or limited in its quantity, it has a set quantity, whether it's gold or silver or precious metals. Even if something does, that's why you see those infomercials all the time selling gold bricks and gold coins and stuff, because it's, a very, very small amount of gold, but they're able to sell it for a lot because people perceive it's a precious metal. There's only a certain amount of gold in the world, and I'm going to buy it. So I think anything in that space is really a strong product to sell.
Now, you created an app with 200,000 users, 200,000 plus users, and sold it. What app was this, and how did you get to 200,000 people to subscribe to your application?
Yeah, when that was our first startup, and so when we exited that, we had 500,000 users on the platform, and I wish we had that today, because as a paid traffic person, there's a lot more you can do in that world with your apps than back in 2012 and 2011 when we were initially launching the company and the app. I mean, now you can actually do sponsored listings in the App Store and iTunes. Back then, it was all algorithm based, so it was 100% organic, and to get featured in the best new apps or in that section was a huge goal. But it really was like, hitting the lottery. There's no way to buy your way in. So nowadays there's a lot more you can do on the paid traffic side. So if you do have some funding, if you do have a profitable app, there are ways, even just Facebook as an app as a destination, there's a lot you can do there to grow your user base. If you have an app that you genuinely believe provides value and has a high retention rate, that's a great strategy. If you're buying users for the sake of buying users, that's a surefire way to lose. And there's a lot of people that do that focus on vanity metrics, like how many users we have. And the real metrics that matter are, your daily active users, your engagement rates. That's what, clients and investors look at. They don't look at how many total users you have.
That was the case. And how did you get this app off the ground?
Yeah, so we had a platform that we worked. Initially, it started out as a daily photo contest app where we worked with local businesses, and we ran these photo challenges where you had to submit like a crazy photo. Like, we worked with local Domino's back in Gainesville, Florida, where it's like, take a picture, eating Domino's, like the craziest place, then the most creative or most, the top voted photo gets $100. And we did the cash prizes every single day. It was called the Daily 100. So we gave $100 cash every day. Yeah, and it was a really fun app. And part of the way we structured the app made it intentionally viral and just the core feature set, because one of the ways to win every day was to get the most votes. And so we initially focused on testing it in a local area. So we launched it at University of Florida in Gainesville. And I think we ended up having like 65% of everybody in the city that had an iOS device had downloaded the app at some point.
That's awesome.
Because it was so naturally viral. And that was kind of the foundation that we built on. Eventually, we branched out into not just doing daily contests, but we did these micro rewards where you could get 25 cents or $1 or a free product or a discount for completing these different social actions, like sharing a tweet, posting on Facebook, taking a photo, checking in somewhere. So we basically helped brands incentivize those actions, and then helped consumers monetize their following, even if they didn't have thousands of followers. Because at the time, people were only focused on big influencers. Nobody was focused on the 99% of other people who maybe had 100 Twitter followers. But if you could take $100 and get 100 people to tweet versus $100 going to one person tweet, that's the way we looked at it. So we had to work with a lot of big brands, Adobe, Coke.
The methods that you used back then to get all these clients and consumers to the table, do you think they're still effective today? Has this always been through social media?
Yeah, I think it's always been, through social has always been our go-to platform. I mean, with the Daily 100 and stuff, we actually did do some physical events and in-person things that did really well. Like we did a cash machine in like downtown Orlando for this massive event. And what was really creative with it is we had I think $2,000 in singles we threw in there, but we also threw in a lot of these kind of white pieces of paper that had much higher amounts, like $5 or $10 or $20, but you had to go into the app to redeem it.
That's some genius shit, man.
And the better thing, and this is obviously from a business standpoint, is we had like a limit on, how much you needed to make to cash out. So we had people that would, hey, I just got like $5 for free or $10, but like I need like another $1 to, be able to cash out. So I'm going to complete these actions. And so we had a lot of ways we were bridging kind of the physical and digital divide, and, compensating people for that, but at the same time, intentionally making it so they needed to actually engage with the app and experience it before they could just go in and cash out, which ended up working because a lot of people would be longtime users of the app.
There's been a lot of great information that you've been able to share and bring to the table for our listeners today. Is there a last piece of advice that you'd like to leave with our listeners?
Sure. I think the biggest piece of advice that I give to, especially people that are just getting started out on their entrepreneurial journey, two things. One is find mentors and surround yourself with people that are more successful and more intelligent and more talented than you are. And that's tough for a lot of type A people to do. A lot of type A people want to be the smartest person in the room and want to be the leader. But when you're getting started out, you need those people to elevate you. You never in a million years want to be the smartest person in the room because all you can do is be pulled down. Nobody's pulling you up. And so that's number one, is like surround yourself with smart people, successful people, find mentors, reach out to people in the industry that, don't assume that because they're successful and a huge figure, they're not going to want to work with you. Like I take calls all the time from kids in college and kids just getting started out who are like blown away by the fact that like, I didn't think you would spend time with me. And I'll spend an hour on the phone with them and talk to them monthly, because I like giving back. Like that gives me more meaning and I'm more passionate about that than anything at this moment. And so that's number one. And number two is you need to love what you do and be persistent with it. If what you're doing right now you wouldn't want to wake up on a Sunday and go do, you're doing the wrong thing. It's really, really difficult to be an entrepreneur and work 7 days a week and put up all the failures and the hurdles and challenges if you genuinely are not passionate what you do. Like I have loved what I do every day for the last 6 years. And because of that, I've been able to push through things that like if I wasn't passionate about, I would have given up on a long time ago. And I've been able to go all in on it. And that ability to be persistent is a necessity to be successful, because at some point that persistence pays off. You get that meeting, you get that speaking gig, and you deliver, and then that propels you to the next thing and the next thing, and then pretty soon you're at the top of where you want it to be.
Brother, it's been amazing getting to chat with you, and I'll be reaching out to you for sure for some feedback on our future projects over here as well.
Sure.
How do our listeners get in touch with you if they'd like to work with your firm?
So our new website should be up soon, but you can always email me at max@unicorninnovations.com. That's my email. And then unicorncourseiq.com is the URL to our right now it's our Facebook ads course. We're also about to launch an SEO course. So if you're interested in joining that, unicorncourseiq.com is the destination there. So we have our main course, and then we also have something called AdIQ Hub, which is a kind of a great entry point for a lot of people, where it's a lower monthly payment. It's $39.99 a month, and that gives you access to a few of the modules, but it mainly gives you access to the private group, the weekly office hours, the weekly ad audits, and the networking inside that group, because there's a lot of big media buyers who are inside the group answering questions all the time. So that's a great place to start for a lot of people.
Looking forward to getting with you soon, Max.
Same here, Chase. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Beta to Boss podcast. For resources or to leave feedback, visit www.beta2boss.com or www.paycertified.com. If you haven't yet, you can subscribe on iTunes so you don't miss any future episodes. Remember to dream big and act on your dreams.